Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second session of tonight's PEO's 2023 Council Elections All Candidates meeting. My name is Arthur Sinclair, and I will be the moderator for tonight's discussion. Tonight, we will hear from the candidates for East Central Regional Councillor. Candidate Darius Mortezavi is unable to attend tonight's meeting. The two candidates for this position with us tonight are Nanda Lwin and Victor Lan. The electronic meetings with the candidates via webcast enable voters to learn more about the candidates and PEO issues, so more of them will vote. Voters will be able to pose questions online in advance of the discussion. We'll try to get to as many of those questions as possible. In accordance with the approved protocol for the all candidates meeting, as moderator, I may shorten the questions and not read out preambles to questions, may select any question, may remove offensive and duplicate questions, and may ask questions not on the platform. Each candidate will be provided 2 minutes for opening remarks. I will then direct a question to a candidate. That candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question. After the candidate has responded, the remaining candidate will have 1 minute to address the first candidate's response. Following the question period, the candidates will have 90 seconds each for closing remarks. The order of speakers was determined by a draw earlier this evening. The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the PEO and are the responsibility of the candidates. So without further delay, let's get started with opening remarks. The first candidate for East Central Region Councillor is Nanda Lwin.
Good evening. In the next few weeks, you'll be asked to choose your new East Central Councillor. Make no bones about it. Our profession is at a crossroads. The introduction of mandatory peak, concerted efforts to make PEO more regulatory related, new rules for internationally trained engineers, and brand new application procedures. These are serious yet exciting times. And to meet those new challenges, East Central needs a representative who can rise to the occasion. I believe I am that person. I've honed my communication skills as a journalist, an author, and as a debater and president of a debating society. I've honed my leadership and people skills as well. For the past 19 years, I've been a professor of civil engineering technology at Seneca College. And in the past, I've been an entrepreneur and I've been involved in political campaigns and writing associations. I've been an executive of the Willowdale Thornhill PEO chapter for the past 18 years, 4 of those as chair. In this election, I have let my name stand as a candidate because these are serious times that needs someone serious and experienced. I've always said that we don't need a candidate with big promises. We need a councillor who cares, has experience, can represent us, and most of all, stand up for us at council when the time is needed. If you feel the same way as I do, I humbly ask for your support tonight. My name is Nanda Lwin, and I'm running for East Central Councillor. Good evening, and please enjoy tonight's presentation. Thank you.
The second candidate for East Central Region Councillor is Victor Lan.
Yeah, my name is Victor Lan. I would like to vote no. I have demonstrated a strong dedication and commitment to the PEO. I have been volunteering at the PEO Scope chapter for over 13 years and have served in numerous positions, including executive, secretary, treasurer, chapter vice chair, chapter chair, and chapter past chair. At the chapter, I had a wonderful opportunity to work with the PEO members, provincial government, as well as the public. Professionally, I have almost 40 years of extensive experience with engineering consulting services, construction industry, and infrastructure development, including over 20 years in Ontario. Please consider to vote me as the East Central Region Councillor. Thank you.
So that concludes the opening remarks segment. Now let's go to our audience questions. So the first question, and this will go to Ananda. Based on your knowledge of the Professional Engineers Act and the regulations, how would you describe PEO's core mandate?
Thank you, Arthur. Well, the core mandate of PEO is basically to regulate the profession, to govern the profession, and to make sure that that people fall in line and act professionally. And it issues licenses, and of course, it takes it away. It revokes it if needed. So basically, that's the core mandate of PEO, and also to maintain standards, right? To maintain standards as it relates to knowledge and education and skills and ethics. So that's basically the core mandate of PEO for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Victor, your response? PEO's core mandate.
PEO's principal object is to regulate the practice of professional engineering and to cover its license and certificate holders in order the public interest can be served and protected. Serving and protecting public interest is PEO's mandate. PEO's has additional objects to establish, maintain, and develop standards of knowledge and skill, qualification and practice, professional ethics, to promote public awareness of the role of the PEO. Thank you.
Thank you. So the second question goes back to Victor. First, what do you see as your role as a councillor, that is, as a member of the board of directors, in fulfillment of PEO's core mandate?
Yeah, and just now I mentioned I have almost 40 years of extensive experience with the engineering consulting service, the construction industry, and the infrastructure development, including over 20 years in Ontario. If I was elected as a councillor, I will work hard with council to play the following roles of council and the regional council. One, provide direction how to best achieve public protection mandate. 2, high level to oversee PEO's performance to issue the work is carried out efficiently and effectively. 3, development strategic plan. 4, assess the achievement of the plan. 5, approve annual budget. 6, establish and review policies, guidelines, and bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you. And then.
Thank you, Arthur. Basically, I see the role of councillor threefold. First is to represent the constituency, to represent the members. It requires listening and being compassionate and being understanding and being empathetic. It requires to really convey what is going on in the constituency, in the region. So that's the first part. The second part is to convey to the membership what PEO Council is up to. That is an essential piece, because in order to make sure that the feedback that's coming back from the constituents is meaningful and true, they have to have meaningful feedback from the council and meaningful information from the council. So that's the second part. And the third part is actually voting and making the decisions with the best information that we have in order to move the association ahead. Now, that also means that being involved in council, being involved with council committees. So that basically is
Thank you.
the role.
So the next question is going to go back to Nanda as the so looking at the PEO as an organization, what do you see as the most important challenge facing PEO today, and what should council do to address this challenge? And that's back to Nanda.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's talk about the improvements that PEO can make. Well, one of them a lot of people have talked about a lack of self-governance. I think what really we need is to talk to the members more. Council needs to talk to the members more, find out what they need, and find out what they care about and react to that. So that's the first thing I think needs to happen. Another challenge is always the illegal use of the title engineer. Engineer gets easily used, and we have to clamp down on it. And PO is doing a pretty good job, I would think, so far. But we need to keep our eyes on the ball. And of course, another thing is emerging disciplines. There's always new disciplines. Engineering is always changing, and we have to make sure that PO keeps its eye on the ball and make sure that we license those engineers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And to Victor, important challenge facing PO, and what should council do to address?
Yeah, the most important challenge facing PO today is services provided by license holders. Some of the license holders do not provide good service to protect the public. If I was elected as a councillor, I will work hard with council to issue all licensed professionals are qualified and remain competent. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And the next question will go back to Victor. And the same sort of staying in the same sort of theme. What do you see as the biggest threat to self-regulation as it pertains to the PO and the engineering profession?
Yeah, the biggest threat is not maintaining good quality engineering work by license holders, and the public interest are not protected by license holders. So as just like I mentioned, if I was elected a councillor, I will work hard with the council to ensure all professionals are qualified and remain competent. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nanda?
Arthur.
Biggest threat?
Yes, the biggest threat. Well, one of the things is apathy in the membership, a lack of engagement, if you will, with the membership. We always need members to be involved in order to voice, the best opinions and make sure that PO is moving in the best direction that we can have it move in. There's I think because of that, it also ties into this whole theme of not reaching out to the membership. And so that's another component that I would work on certainly as a PEO counselor. And also always an ongoing threat to the profession and PEO is the illegal use of the title engineer. That's something that needs to be looked into. And the PEO has gone after politicians. They've gone after Microsoft. All these groups that need to be reined in. So thank you very much.
So next question is about PEO's strategic plan. And a strategic goal in PEO's 2023-2025 strategic plan is to ensure all stakeholders see relevance and value in PEO. And reflecting on that goal, whom would you identify as some of PEO's key stakeholder groups or organizations? And what do you think meaningful and appropriate engagement with the stakeholders groups might look like? Back to Nanda.
Thank you, Arthur. Well, your first question was to identify key stakeholder groups. So we're talking about Ontario Society of Professional Engineers. We're talking about Consulting Engineers Ontario, perhaps. Chapters, PEO chapters, we can't forget them. And there's also other groups like the Engineers for the Profession, right? These are all groups that have something to say. And so I think it's important to listen to them. I think it's important to have a organization that cares about one another and that we all are part of the same family. I think that's what we need to recognize is we're all part of the same family and we need to move ahead accordingly. And I think that any relationship with OSPI or with CEO or with chapters or with Engineers for the Profession, any other group, it should be harmonious. It should be, we should trust one another and we should be open with one another. With the chapters, that's a great way of actually
Thank you very much.
actually going to the grassroots. And
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Arthur. Sorry about that.
And to Victor, with respect to the strategic goal of stakeholders.
In my opinion, some of PO's key stakeholder groups are the public and the provincial government. As I mentioned before, I have been volunteering at the PO SCOP chapter for over 13 years, and I have served in numerous positions, including executive, secretary, treasurer, chapter vice chair, chapter chair, and chapter past chair. I was also chair of chapter government liaison program for many years. At the chapter, I had a wonderful opportunity to work with the provincial government and the public. If I was elected as councillor, I will work with the council to promote a strong relationship with the public and the provincial government. Thank you.
Thank you. So I've heard a lot about your activities with the PO. I wanted to ask you a question about your involvement, any involvement you've had as a volunteer with PO, and asking what do you think is the appropriate role for a volunteer at a regulatory body, and what should volunteers not do? And that first goes to Victor.
Okay.
So the question was, describe any involvement you've had as a volunteer with PO, and leading into what do you think is the appropriate role for a volunteer at a regulatory body?
Okay, yeah, thank you. I have been volunteering, as I said before, at the PO SCOP chapter for over 13 years, and have served in numerous positions. So, I think a volunteer should perform the duties assigned by PO and PO chapters, and should not do the work irrelevant to PO's interests. So, as a volunteer, we should act in the best interest of the PO. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nanda, your response?
Thank you, Arthur. So I see your question as twofold here. You're asking me about my own experience and what I think is appropriate and inappropriate volunteer roles. So I've been involved with PO for this month is my 18th anniversary. So I've been involved in PO for 18 years. I've been involved with the chapter. I've done various things with PO as well. 4 of those years were I was chair of Willowdale Thornhills, which I was glad to take on. I've been involved in government liaison. I've been involved with LAP, and I've been involved with licensing ceremonies and newsletters. The appropriate role for volunteers in a regulatory organization have been spelled out years ago when PEO handed down to the chapters the appropriate activities for a regulatory group and what wasn't appropriate. So
thank you very much. I'm going to jump to there's a number of questions that were submitted online that I'm just going to summarize and group into one and leave it to you to and I'll summarize this. What is your position on mandatory continuing professional development? And so and I'm acknowledging anybody who's watching on screen. There's a number of questions that are related to that. So I'm just going to leave it as a reasonably open-ended question to the candidates. The first one to Ananda, what is your position on mandatory continuing professional development?
Thank you, Arthur. This is a very interesting question because I like professional development. I think it's needed, but I don't think it should be compulsory. I don't think it should be mandatory. I think it should be as a lawyer would say, you should govern yourselves accordingly. Choose for yourself whether it really is appropriate for your position and for your situation. I think that it should be up to the individual. It's been like that for years, and it's pretty much worked. I know and I understand, and I've heard some of the opinions that contrast my opinion people who are in favor of mandatory CPD, but and I'm sympathetic to it, but I think in balance, I'm pretty much against mandatory CPD. It should be up to the individual, and it should be up to the person who's practicing. And I have all my faith in the practitioner. Thank you.
Thank you. And Victor, over to you. Question open-ended with respect to mandatory continuing professional development.
Yeah, continuing professional program CPT was approved by PO Council a few years ago. CPT is outlined in Section 51.2 of Regulation 941 under the Professional Engineer Act. CPT takes effect on January 1st, 2023, a few days ago. CPD is based on the Practice Evaluation and Knowledge PINC program that has been voluntary for more than 5 years. As I mentioned before, I have almost 40 years of extensive experience with engineering consulting service, the construction industry, and the infrastructure development. If I was elected as a councillor, I will work with the council to closely monitor CPT and to see and anything need to be improved. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And I want to stay on the submitted questions. This one did float to the top. So for those, thank you for participating. And I'm going to summarize a little bit. And this question first goes to Victor. What do you think is, actually I should preamble a little bit with my own knowledge. So the PO is going to be putting in place a brand new CEO registrar in this year. And so I need to preamble with that. This year, the CEO registrar, there will be a new one. First question to Victor. Requirements.
Yeah, can you repeat it because the light disconnect? Oh, was a question about the P.
No problem, no problem. And they're online for all to see, by the way. And understanding that there will be a new registrar, CEO of the PO in 2023. What do you think is the requirements what do you think the requirements will be for the new CEO registrar?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and CEO, and as is the head of the operational group for the PO, and we be and operate the daily we perform the daily operation for the organization, and as I mentioned before, I have almost 40 years of extensive experience in the industry. So if I was elected as a councillor, I will work hard with council to select and appoint best qualified CEO, and also to review and the CEO's performance after the CEO is appointed. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nanda, your response with respect to the requirements for the new CEO registrar at PO?
So can you repeat the question again, because I was a bit unclear about
Very well. So I'm not reading all the preamble, but essentially the question is with respect to what do you think is the minimum experience requirements for the CEO registrar of PO? So what do you think and they're acknowledging that there is a new CEO, new registrar coming in. What do you think will be the requirements for that CEO?
Well, now that she's hired, I mean, you're probably asking what we expect from her. Well, we expect her to certainly carry out the direction that has been put forth by council. We need somebody who shares the vision and is visionary, along with PO council, and can direct the staff to make sure that the vision of PO council is implemented, and to make sure that everybody's well informed. I think that's always an important thing for PO to actually make sure that all of the membership knows about what's going on. I wish her all the best. I mean, this is certainly a tough position, but it's a leadership position, and I've read about her, and I'm very enthusiastic about her leadership. If I may go on a bit of a tangent. So
thank you.
I trust I answered your question. Thank you.
So, looking at some issues here, from a public protection standpoint, and what, if any, value do you see in PEO's efforts to streamline the licensure of engineering graduates, Canadian or internationally trained? What, if any, opportunities are created by recent government changes or amendments to the Fair Access to Regulated Professions and Compulsory Trades Act? So again, just for all those listening, that's what opportunities are created by recent government changes to the Fair Access to Regulated Professions and Compulsory Trades Act, or FARPACTA, and that goes back to Nanda.
Thank you, Arthur. FARPACTA is very far-reaching. It encompasses a whole bunch of things, like, for example, our EIT program. And may I say that I have mixed feelings about this. We would have to get rid of our EIT program, for example. That's what FARPACTA is requiring us to do, or at least that's what's going to happen, is that the EIT program is going to go away. That's unfortunate. I mean, what will we do with the Sterling Award, for example, which awards EITs? But it also, on the other side, I mean, it makes internationally trained and educated engineers, it makes it easier for them to get licensed, and deserving engineers from abroad. I mean, let's bring them on board as soon as possible. And that's what FARPACTA does. So, I mean, that's one of the values for sure. And it also streamlines the entire system. So people don't sign up for EITs anymore. They sign up after 4 years, and within 6 months, once that's approved, they have to actually write the test. So that's good.
Thank you. And Victor, with respect to FARPACTA, or Fair Access to Regulated Profession and Compulsory Trades Act.
Yes, and so I'm serving and protecting public interest is PEO's mandate. Whatever adjustment or changes, we should not compromise the PEO's mandate. And so if I was elected as councillor, we work with council to issue, and all qualified professionals are, all licensed professionals are qualified. And also, we address the FARPACTA the amendment with the council. Thank you.
Thank you. So next question, is there anything PEO can or should do to enhance its public interest protection mandate? And that goes back to you, Victor.
Pardon me?
Is there anything? No problem. I'll reread. And by the way, we're getting towards the end, but if there's ever a time you want me to reread, I'm all for that. Is there anything PEO can or should do to enhance its public interest protection mandate? Anything PEO can do to enhance its mandate?
I think PEO already have set up the system and to issue the public interest can be protected and served, and also PEO has additional role, additional objects to which is establish, maintain, and develop standards of knowledge and skill, qualification and practice, for professional ethics, and I think also if I was elected as the councillor, I will focus on the licensing and the registration, compliance, discipline, compliance, and enforcement,
Thank you.
and also as well as professional standard. Thank you.
Nanda.
Arthur, thank you. So your question is about how PEO can maintain the public interest protection mandate. Well, I think it should continue with a lot of the things that they're doing. I mean, they have been pretty good about the illegal use of the PNG title, for example. They went after Microsoft. They went after a few individuals who call themselves professional engineers when they're not. So that's a very important component that I think should stay. And I think that's very good of them, and that goes to show that they're doing their job. One of the things I've heard, just to give some more feedback about this topic, I've heard that a lot of engineers have made complaints about the proper use, the improper use of the title. They need to clamp down and make sure that they do that quickly, and of course, keeping up with new disciplines. So those are all ideas to maintain that mandate. Thank you.
And we are getting towards the end. Few more questions. Talking about yourself, and this would next question first to Nanda. What special skills, experience, or ideas do you bring to enhance the governance of PEO? And if you may, what boards have you served on that might be similar to PEO's council?
So you're asking me what kind of experience I have. Well, I've done a lot of things that are. You're saying what special skills, right?
What special skills, experience, or ideas do you bring to enhance the governance of PEO?
Well, I'm a bit unique in that I've done PEO volunteer work, and I've also worked as a journalist for a while. I've been a debater, for example. I belong to a debating society, so I have those skills. So those are the kind of skills that I would bring to the table. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Take it for what you want. Just skills, ideas, abilities. What do you bring to the PEO?
So that's I bring 18 years of volunteer experience. I've been to conventions. I've done licensing ceremonies. I've done newsletters. And I've been a member of OSPE, and I've been chair for 4 years. So I've done some leadership in PEO, and so that's what I would bring to the table if I were elected. Thank you.
And Victor, same question to you. What's
special skills? As I mentioned before, and I have been volunteering at the Scarborough chapter for over 13 years, and serving numerous positions, including the executive secretary, treasurer, chapter vice chair, chapter chair, and the past chair. So and we organized many events. Yeah. I also took part in the events organized by the PEO, and also serve a board member for YCC 324, a large condominium group, and so that board and the function PEO just provide the governance and to protect the residents of the condominium. So, and I believe I can provide the financial and also organizational skills to the PEO. Thank you.
So this will be the last question, and we'll first go to Victor. What's the one thing you want voters to know about you?
One thing I would like the voter to know is I have demonstrated strong dedication and commitment to the PEO. So as I mentioned before, I have volunteered in PEO Scarborough chapter for 13 years, and also have almost 40 years of extensive experience with engineering consulting services, construction industry, and infrastructure development. So excellent skills and experience, I think that definitely can contribute to the PEO Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question to Nanda. What is the one thing you want voters to know about you?
I want you to know that I care, that I'm here for you. I cared when I was chair of PEO, Willowdale Thornhill chapter. I cared when we made sure in Willowdale Thornhill that both Willowdale and Thornhill were equally represented in our activities, in our events, in our meetings. I cared when we celebrated the 50th anniversary of our chapter. I cared when we put on barbecues, when we put on licensing ceremonies, when we put on socials, when we put out newsletters. I cared. And that's what I want you to know about me is I care. I care. And I will continue to care. And may I say, I also care about my students, for example, when I put out a scholarship at Seneca. And I care. I will continue to care when I'm counselor. I will listen to you. I will hear what you have to say. I will hear your concerns, your worries, your feedback, and I will care enough to make sure that they're heard at council. That's very important, and that's what I want you to know about me. Thank you.
And this concludes the question portion of the meeting. Now, each candidate will have 90 seconds for closing remarks. Nanda, your closing remarks.
Thank you, Arthur. It was back in 1978 when my parents first took me to the CN Tower for the very first time, and I fell in love, not just with the CN Tower, but with the whole profession, engineering. And almost 45 years later, that love has not wavered. Tonight, you've heard from two of us equally passionate about engineering, vying for the position of East Central Councillor. The question now is which one of us is best to represent you? Which one will you vote for? As chair of Willowdale Thornhill PO chapter, I brought people together and made sweeping, exciting new changes. As your counselor, I will have a very clear vision, a chapter system that works for everyone, a council that listens to its membership, support for internationally educated engineers, and equity, diversity, and inclusion for all. But East Central, here's the catch, and there's a catch. I need your support. I need you to vote for me. Let's make this happen, no matter where you live tonight. Simcoe, Muskoka, York Region, Willowdale, Thornhill, Toronto, Scarborough, Durham, Port Hope. I need you. I need your vote. My name is Nanda Lewin, and I'm running for East Central Councillor. Good evening. Thank you for watching, and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Victor, your closing remarks.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, for attending, our candidates meeting. As I mentioned before, I have almost 40 years of extensive experience with engineering consulting service, the construction industry, and the infrastructure development, including over 20 years in Ontario. And demonstrate strong commitment to PEO. And if I was elected a councillor, I will work hard with the council to focus on and to act as the best interest of PO, to focus on optimize organizational performance, to building on the PO's vision to issue all stakeholders see relevance and value in the PO. 3, expediting the transformation of PO to a modern regulator. 4, addressing the capital amendments. And 5, maintaining strong communication among members, chapters, and the council. Thank you. Happy New Year.
This concludes tonight's discussion. I would like to thank the candidates for their participation and also to those watching online for their interest. Thank you for your interest in the governance of the engineering profession. I hope you found the meeting to be informative and worthwhile. As a reminder, a recording of all meetings will be on PEO's website for the duration of the election. Thank you again to everyone for participating. Thank you very, very much. I really am grateful for everybody's participation. And remember, your profession matters, so does your vote. Voting is quick and easy. You can vote on the internet or by phone. Voting opens on January 13th and closes at 4 p.m. on February 17th. All the information you need is on the website at www.peo.on.ca. Good night.